What's up, Fuse? What's up, what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up? How's everybody doing tonight? Can we give it up for our band one more time for leading us in worship? I said, can we give it up for our band for leading us in worship? What was that? Come on. Man. I just love being here on Wednesday nights and worshiping with all of you. We are privileged to have people who are willing to serve in that capacity, to give up their Wednesday night, to be here, to lead worship. Man, how lucky are we to have people who are willing to do that? So tonight, if it's your first time here at Fuse, my name is Titus Bourne. I'm part of the student team here, and we've been going through this series called It Is Written, where we've been looking at different passages in the Bible that references the Bible. And we've been looking at these different stories of Jesus in the New Testament, of how Jesus interacts with sin, how he interacts with the enemy, how he interacts with humanity. And tonight, as we wrap up, this is our last week of It Is Written, we're going to be getting into an interaction between Jesus and one of his disciples named Peter. Everybody say Peter. But before we get to that point, I want to say if you're a first-time guest, we are so blessed to have you. We are so happy that you are here. We hope that you have a great experience. And I challenge you, if you're a first-time guest tonight, you may not know what's going on around you, but just know God's here. And if God's here, it's going to be good. All right? It's going to be good. So welcome to the Fuse family. Students, if you've been here forever, if you've been here for 2 weeks, whatever it is, make everyone feel at home, right? We want this to feel like a home. We want Fuse to feel like a family, right? This is the Fuse fam. So if you ever see a first-time guest, if you ever see someone that's new and they don't know anybody, make sure you're the person. You can be the person to meet them, to introduce yourself to them, and let's make this the Fuse fam that we want. So before we get into tonight's message, I want to tell you what tonight's message is really going to be about. It's going to be about interrupting, all right? Everybody got that? It's pretty simple, right? It's about interrupting. It's about interrupting. Who in here has a problem interrupting? Just go ahead. Raise your hand. Yep. Mm-hmm. Who in here hates being interrupted? You know what's funny about that? Usually the person who interrupts the most also hates being interrupted. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? It's like, hey, maybe if you didn't do it so often, people wouldn't want to do it to you. But we were sitting in staff meeting this week on Tuesday, and one of our staff members pointed out that the Bourne family, my family, my dad is the lead pastor here, and so, we're all on the staff together, and my brother leads worship sometimes, my mom is on staff, so we're all here. But a staff member pointed out that there's a lot of times when those Bournes get in a room, they try to predict what people are going to say. And so what will happen is we're having a conversation. Instead of letting the person just finish their sentence, we'll try to just guess. You were going to say that. And it's like, no, that's not what I was saying at all. And I never noticed it until someone pointed it out this week. And I was like, man, we had a little problem in the Bourne house interrupting. And it's true. It is true. We got a problem with doing that. But the thing is with interrupting is that, when someone's talking, what an interrupter thinks, which if you're an interrupter, you clearly know that you are now. What an interrupter is thinking is, first of all, they're not listening to the other person, right? Like the other person is talking and they got nothing going on up here. Like they're watching them, they're nodding their heads like, yeah. But in their head, they're thinking about what they're about to say, right? They're not thinking anything about the person is saying. And what I love about interrupters, and I guess this myself included, is that it's like we're looking for the first pause, right? Like they're not done yet, but if there's any kind of hesitation or or it's like, dude, that is go time for the interrupters. So someone's talking Colton, tell me about your day real quick. Tell me about your day, man, come on. Yeah, what happened? Yeah. You did what? Dude, let me tell you about something that I did today, man. It was crazy, dude. You're going to want to hear about it. This is what people do. We all do it. Because we somehow think that what we have to say is more important somehow than what they're talking about. Or we just have zero self-control and we have a thought and we have to just say it, right? Come on, people, come on. I'm talking to a lot of people in this area. It's okay. Our middle schoolers, we learn. We're going to learn, but high schoolers too, you got the same problem. Let's not act like some of y'all don't, okay? Okay. But so often we are so quick to interrupt people. And I think there's maybe sometimes when people are trying to tell us a lesson, like maybe you're a leader in small groups, maybe you're a coach, maybe you're a teacher. Someone's trying to teach you a lesson or teach you something about something, and we are so quick to interrupt that we may not hear what the message is. And my fear is that what we do on the outside often happens on the inside, and that we kind of treat God that same way, where we kind of interrupt what God is doing. We kind of interrupt God's voice and interject our opinion. We interject our voice. And so as we go through this message tonight, I want y'all to be thinking about that concept of how often are we trying to interrupt God, like the God of the universe. Like we can't even stop and listen to what he's saying. And so tonight I want to challenge you as we go through this message, be listening. Be listening for some parts that you can relate to. Be listening for a lesson that you can take home and apply to your life. As I said, we're going over a story. It's really only 2 verses. We're going over 2 verses tonight in Matthew 16. And in this chapter, Jesus is telling his disciples, the people, the men that are following him, that are part of the ministry that he has started. And the disciples are going around with Jesus. They're doing all these miracles. They're saving people, all these things. And Jesus sits them down. He's like, listen, y'all, I'm going to die. Like, I'm going to die. Like, imagine the disciples' mindset. Like, this guy has brought people back to life. This guy is healing people. He's supposed to be like the savior of the universe. And he's telling you he's going to die. And you've left everything at this point to follow. Would that be an uncomfortable situation, you'd say? Would that be a scary situation that you've left everything to follow this guy and he's telling you he's about to die, right? But he's telling his disciples, I am going to die. And we pick up to Peter's response. Peter, one of the disciples. So Peter looks at him. It says that he takes him aside. So Peter, like Jesus is saying this. Peter's like, hey, Jesus, you were saying some crazy things over there. Let's just walk over here real quick. Let me just talk to you. A little one-on-one conversation. You know, it's like, Jesus, let me coach you, you know, like on leadership. You know what I mean? I'm like, what are we doing, Peter? What are we doing? And it says that he began to rebuke him. It says, never, Lord, this shall never happen to you. Never. You see, I think that we often interrupt God's plan when we are uncomfortable with God's path. That we get to a point where as soon as uncomfortability factors into our faith, we say, well, God, I'm not really down with that. Like, God, I want your plan, but I don't want to walk the path that is your plan. Like, I want to follow you, God, but what you're asking me to do, I don't think I'm very comfortable with. And we live in a culture today where it tells you that you should always be comfortable. And I think I want to talk about that for a second because I got to tell y'all, faith is not meant to be comfortable. Faith is meant to be uncomfortable. That when you choose to follow God's plan, you're not choosing the easy road. You're choosing the road that is uncomfortable. And Peter is in a situation here where he's uncomfortable. Because he's uncomfortable, he's trying to convince Jesus to get off the path. And so when it comes to us in our lives, how often do we say, well, God, I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable with sharing my faith to people because I don't want to make people feel weird. I don't want to make people, upset, all the different things. But it's like, what if that person, what if they need the hope that you have? God, I'm not quite comfortable giving up my Wednesday nights. I want to chill after school or I want to play video games. I don't want to worry about going to church. God, I'm not quite comfortable walking in the light. I'm not quite comfortable being the church kid. So I'll show up on Wednesdays and I'll live it out on Wednesdays, but when Friday comes, I'm going to do me. See, I think so often we want to lead a double life. We want the church life, and then we want the world life. But I think God often challenges us to not lead a double life, but to follow him fully. And what that means is that when his plan is working out in our lives, and we have to walk down the path that is his plan, we have to be okay with being uncomfortable. We have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And so, when we see this happen, right, Peter's trying to convince Jesus to not go through with this. And Jesus, for those of you who don't know, Jesus is there to die on the cross for our sins, our mistakes, and then be raised from the dead 3 days later so that we have an opportunity to spend eternity with him in paradise. That's what Jesus is here to do. And Peter is trying to convince Jesus to not do that. It's like, that's like the most losing argument ever, right? Like, you are so in the wrong here. But again, he's interrupting. He's interrupting because he's not comfortable with what's going on. And ultimately, if Peter's plan happens, right? If Peter's plan is put into action and Jesus does not die, wouldn't that mean that no one could be saved? Wouldn't that mean that we couldn't have paradise with Jesus? So Peter's plan is actually preventing the very thing that he needs, where Jesus' plan is providing the very thing that he needs. Peter's plan would prevent the world from having Jesus, while Jesus' plan is providing the way, the truth, and the life that we all know today. And I wonder how many times in our lives is our plan preventing us from what God is trying to give us? That we've been wanting to have a peace. We've been wanting to have love. We've been wanting to have a purpose. But we keep following our plan, and we're not finding those things in our plan. Because our plan is preventing us from finding those things, where God is sitting there saying, I could provide it for you if you would just follow my plan. If you would just be willing to get uncomfortable for a season, I can provide the things that you are looking for. But so often we get in our own way. We say, God, I want to do it. I'll do it my way. I'll do it my way. And I don't know who's in here tonight. Whether you've been walking the God way, or been doing it your way, or a little bit of both. But I know that I've walked my own way. And I know where that got me. Now, I don't know if some of y'all haven't hit that point where you figure out that your path, that your way doesn't work. But I assure you, I would rather you make the change now than experience the rock bottom that happens when you follow your own way. And you can say, well, Titus, like, nothing's gone wrong so far. Is that really how you want to live? Like, nothing's gone wrong so far? Like, that's the mindset? Well, it hasn't turned bad yet, so I'll just keep doing it. But it's like, but you could live in a mindset of, I know that God's got me. I know that God provides what I need, and so I don't have to worry about the yet because I have the now. You see, we often get into this mindset of, well, it hasn't gone wrong yet, but it's like, why even live like that? Why even choose to live in that path? Because you want to find that love. You want to find that girl or that boy, right? Right? Everybody wants to find that. The cute relationship, you know, you're at the coffee shop and you're taking a picture and your Bible's laid out, you know, things like that. You're holding hands in the school hallways, you know. Everybody knows that's the couple. They're going to make it. They're going to make it this time. I know it. Oh, Lord, have mercy. Oh, my gosh. God. I mean, maybe, you know, but I don't know necessarily what the rate is on high school relationships making it. No doubt, middle school relationships. Oh, if you make it in a middle school relationship to marriage, you come find me whenever you get married and you tell me, and I will give you $100 because that is an achievement, my friend. But with Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat and all our socials, right? It's all we see. We see all these lovey-dovey relationships. You know, we're like, I want that. You know, I want something like that. You know, but it's like, then you start looking in the wrong places because you start doing it your way, right? You start substituting, she's not, and she doesn't go to church at all, but she's cute, you know? She doesn't read her Bible, she doesn't live out the Bible, but she thinks I'm good looking, so why not just date her, you know? What's the worst that could happen? I think that's what, but if you would just follow God's plan, what do you find a girl, guys, that worships with you? Find a girl that pushes you in your faith. Girls. Yeah, it's your turn. Yeah. Boys, get ready to laugh, all right? Girls, we look at our friends and we say, well, they have a boyfriend and now I'm the third wheel. I don't want to be the third wheel. So I'll go settle for a guy who has never treated anyone right, but he's going to treat me right. He doesn't go to church, but I'm going to change him. I'm going to be the difference. Oh, good luck, ladies. Good luck, good luck, good luck, good luck, good luck. Oh, my gosh. You see, boys, I got them too, all right? I got them too. But come on. Come on. Like, you ain't Jesus, all right? You ain't changing them. That's Jesus' job. That ain't your job. But girls, we rush that process. Boys, we rush that process. And we sacrifice true love just because we're lonely. And what happens is we end up making some terrible mistakes because we followed our plan that's now preventing us from the relationship that we one day could have if we would just follow God's plan. You see, we look for joy and we look for happiness at the parties and with the friend groups that just embrace everything that the world does. And we're left feeling empty a lot of the time at the end of the day. We get home from the party and we're sitting there in our room saying, what did I really do tonight? What am I doing? And I think we chase this temporary happiness because it gets us through another day. But what God is offering to provide is a joy that you don't have to worry about going away, but a joy that lasts. But we keep looking for substitutions. We keep looking to do it our own way because we don't want to be uncomfortable. We don't want to be pushed. And so we settle for less than. And I want to encourage you tonight, don't settle for less than. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Let God provide the very thing that you keep searching for everywhere else. Ask your leaders, have you tried the other ways? Did it work? Now you can say that's boomer talk. It's not, all right? It's not. Every one of our leaders in here has experienced transformation with Jesus. And that's why they lead with the passion that they do, because they want you to experience that same transformation. So let's look at Jesus' response to Peter's interruption. It says that Jesus turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns." You do not have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns. Maybe, just maybe, we don't know everything. Can we admit that tonight? Maybe we don't know everything. Maybe we are limited to what we feel, to what we can process, to what we can handle. So maybe, just maybe, we don't see the full picture. And I think so often we pride ourselves in, yeah, I got it. I see what's going on, God. I know where this is going. But it's like, what if you don't know? What if faith is you saying, I don't know, God, but I know that you know. And since I know that you know, I want to follow you. It's saying, God, I can only worry about what a human can worry about. And what if he's saying tonight to you, hey, quit worrying about all those things, because those things is not what I'm worrying about. I'm trying to save you while you're just trying to figure out who you're going to date next. He's calling out the fact that Peter can only see what we are limited to as humanity. While he's seeing Peter doesn't know what's coming. He doesn't know that Jesus is here to save the world. But Jesus does. And I think when we go through our lives and things happen in our lives that are uncomfortable, I think we have to get to a place where we shift our mindset and say, God, I don't know why this is happening. But God, I know that you know why. And God, since you know why, I know it's going to be okay. Now, I'm stepping on some sermon material I'm going to get to in a little bit because I'm getting so excited up here. But we have to shift our mindset at some point. You know, Jesus is saying, Peter, let me finish what I came down here for. Let me finish what I came to start. Peter, I came down from heaven to be on this earth. I am weeks away from saving the world, and you're trying to get me to stop? He's saying, let me finish, Peter. Don't interrupt my plan because you're uncomfortable. But let my plan work out and watch the amazing things that happen because of it. The plan that Jesus had back then is the plan that we're sitting in right now. Do y'all understand that? That we wouldn't be here today if Jesus did not execute the plan. If he let Peter interrupt him and stop him from executing the plan, there would be no Genesis Metro. There'd be no church. And so I want to challenge you again. Don't interrupt the plan that God has. Admit to yourself that maybe you don't know everything. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You see, what Peter failed to understand is that God's plan is a process. God's plan is a process. Every single time, God's plan is a process. It's steps. In today's world, again, we want it so instantly. But it's steps. It's not all overnight. And a great verse that kind of represents this is Romans 5. It says, not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. You see, what's the last word? What's the last word? But the list started with what word? There you go, there you go, there you go. On the screen, I know it said perseverance. I understand. The list starts with suffering. So we're going to break this down for a second. If it starts with suffering, but it ends with hope, can we look at the process in between? And can we say maybe our lives are going to look like this? That if we're choosing to follow God's plan, that there may be suffering, but that suffering is going to lead to perseverance, and that perseverance will lead to character, and that character leads to hope. You see, I think so many times we stop at the suffering, and then we miss out on the hope. That we get so caught up in the bad thing that happened that we stop following. And I think that's what the enemy wants to do so often. He wants to use those uncontrollables, those terrible things that happen to us, and he wants to say, hey, you shouldn't follow Jesus because of that. But what if I told you, this is going to challenge a lot of y'all, what if I told you that it's part of the process to get to the hope at the end? That God's plan always ends on hope. So don't stop at the suffering. A good illustration I thought of this was going to the gym, all right? This week, me and some of the staff guys decided, we're gonna commit to working out at this new place that's actually right here called JLA Fit, all right? And it's like this high-intensity CrossFit type of thing. There's like these ex-athletes, all these things in here. And so we're walking in, we're a little like, might not be our crowd necessarily. We're not as in shape as these fellows are, But we decided, we're going to commit to this. We're going to give it, I think a year is what we agreed on. And I hope everybody agrees on that. Maybe not after today. We want to give it a year, and if we love it, we're just going to keep doing it. And so we walked in this week. We started yesterday, and it's just terrible. Terrible. Great workout, but we were all dying. Dying. So today we go, and today was cardio day, and if there's one thing I hate, it's cardio. I can't stand it. And so we walk in. Come on, guys. Whose timer is it? I'm in the middle of a story. Find the phone. All right, hey, let's get back on track. See, you distracted me now. I don't know where I'm at anymore. Okay, come on. Cardio. Oh, cardio. It was cardio day, all right? So we stroll in there, and we're like, okay, guys, look, we're committing to like an hour of suffering, and then we're good for the rest of the day, but let's just commit. It's 8:30 in the morning. It's a little early for Titus, but we get in there, we're going through this circuit, and the cardio part, it's like 9 different, like dynamic, there's a bunch of words I could use. It's 9 different intense workouts, all right? And it's 30 seconds on and 30 seconds off. So you're doing one workout for 30 seconds. It's not like reps. It's like 30 seconds of just doing that movement, all right? And then 30 seconds off. And then you just do that 9 times, so 9 different workouts, and you do that 4 times, all right? Oh, just having flashbacks right now. And one of the workouts was like a 200-meter run, all right? Oh, that's just the tip of the iceberg right there. I could tell you all of them and demonstrate. It is terrible. It's terrible. I'm not gonna do that. I'll die up here if I demonstrate. So we get to the 200-meter run. It's the last round. It's the last set, or on the 4th set, and we're doing the 200-meter run. And I'm jogging. I'm not running at this point. I am jogging. I'm right there, just right there. I got my buddy James back there, was doing it with me. He was my partner. And James is a good workout partner because he challenges you, pushes you. I like that. And so we get to we run 100 meters, and we got to go back, right? And as we're turning to go back, he looks at me, and he's like, dude, let's go. And he says Creed and Apollo, which I don't think y'all will quite understand what that means. If you've seen that movie, it's like these guys race in this movie. It's like this epic scene. And so I'm thinking he's like, let's take off. Let's dead sprint this out. Let's finish strong, that's what I think he's saying to me. And I kid you not, I run faster than I've ever run in my life on this 100 meters. I am dead sprint, just, and I look back, and James is nowhere near me. He did not mean go hard. He did not mean sprint. James has been doing this for a little bit, and so he knows, at this point in the workout, you're in a place where if you push it a little too hard, you might not like where you end up, kind of thing. So he knows. And so I'm like, that's confusing. I thought he was going hard. I'm like, I just beat him, I'm like, got him. And so I'm taking off, and I kid you not, as I'm about to finish, I feel this feeling in my stomach. I'm just like, and James says that he watches me run straight, and I just take a sharp right turn. Because there's a little group of bushes right here that became my best friend for the morning. And I spewed everywhere. It was 5 times of full body vomiting, all right? Just straight water, just pure. And I'm dying. Corey runs out with my water bottle, I'm like, what's that gonna do, dude? I am not doing good. But I will say it was all in all, great experience, great experience. But, we committed to this thing. So am I going back tomorrow? Of course I'm going back tomorrow. But if I allow the suffering of today impact my commitment, then I'd miss out on the result that I want to get to, right? I want to get in shape. I want to be able to run around with y'all out there and play basketball. I don't want to be huffing and puffing, you know? And so if I want that end result, I have to go through this pain right now so I can make it there. But if I stop now because of the suffering I went through today and backed out on my commitment, I wouldn't get to where I could be. So in our lives, in our faith, just because we go through something, go through some suffering, again, I encourage you, don't stop, because the end result is more than you could ever imagine. The end result is hope. And I think Jesus is saying to all of us tonight, hey, let me finish. Let me finish what I'm doing. Let me finish what I'm doing in your life. I know you don't see the reason for it right now. I know you don't understand the why right now. But if you just let me finish what I'm doing, you're going to see that I'm worried about the godly things while you're worried about the human things. And if you let me worry about the God things, I'm going to take care of you. And I'm going to get you to hope. But we have to get to that point. And I think when we go through these suffering moments, we think to ourselves, it's the end of the world. It's the end of the world. Like that boy or girl breaks up with you, you're like, it is over. I'm turning on the sad music. I'm eating the ice cream. You know, like that's what we start. We say the end of the world. We react in these huge ways. You know, we don't get the part, or we don't get the starting job, or we don't get the first chair, or we don't get the grade that we wanted. And we say, end of the world. End of the world. Maybe you ask someone to HOCO, you know, and she just says no, guys. She just says no. But I think we react to these things, we act so huge, and we say, it's over. This is the end of the world. I think we have to have a perspective, students. We have to learn that just because something bad happens does not mean everybody, everything, God is bad. It means something bad happens, but tomorrow is always coming. And if we put our trust and faith in God, in that verse that says the suffering will end up leading to hope, then can't we know that even though the bad things do happen, that hope is on the way? Like I said, when we go through these really hard times, like maybe it's the divorce papers of our parents. Maybe that's been destroying us lately. I think we can get so caught up in how sad that can be. And I'm not discrediting you. I'm not saying it's not hard to go through. I'm not trying to say that, so don't hear that. But we let it push us away from the love of God instead of push us closer to the love of God. Because if you would just let God's plan work out, let God use that in your life to get you to the hope that he has promised when you start to follow him. Let God use that to where when you choose your person one day, you can look back and say, I know what I want for my kids. I know what I want for my family. I know I want my marriage to be on a foundation that is the church and that is God. You see, I think so many times we look at these sufferings and we say, God, why me? But what if I told you God can use even the worst pain to bring about your biggest purpose? That we say, God, this breakup, it's killing me. I loved them. But if you just let God use that experience to teach you not to choose the wrong people, to teach you to choose the right people. What if he could use that experience when in 10 years, again, when you are sitting with your husband or your wife, you can say, I appreciate this because I know what I had. I think that's a big picture for a lot of us. But we have to know that the teenage years is not the only part of our lives. It's a very small part of our lives in the grand scheme of our entire life. And so if you can live with the mindset of, yes, this is happening today, but I know God is good. I know God is going to get me to hope. Then not only can you get through the sufferings, but you can be bigger than the sufferings. And so I want to encourage you tonight to not interrupt the process that God is putting you through, but allow God to use the process. Allow God to work in your life so that his plan can be executed, so that we can live with him. To get comfortable with the uncomfortable, to step out in faith, to be different than what the world says to be. Students, the challenge is there for you. So you're going to keep interrupting, or you're going to finally listen. Let's pray. God, I just pray for these students tonight that they understand that you are just waiting to provide whatever that hole is in their heart. You're waiting to provide that love that they've been looking for in all the wrong places, God. You're waiting to provide the Father that they always needed. You're waiting to provide the peace that they just can't possibly find in any other place because they've been trying to fill it with everything else. God, you're waiting to provide the hope that some of us lack. God, I pray these students know that their darkest moments, their darkest hours, their rock bottoms, their sufferings in life, God, they don't have to be the end of their story. But God, it can be the beginning of a new story found in you, found in the hope that you provide. God, I pray that these students know that although following you may be uncomfortable, and they may want to interrupt with their own plan, God, I pray that they can put their faith and trust in the God who knows them better than anyone else. God, we love you and we praise you in your name. Amen. We're going to stay at our seats for reflection.